So this may be a little bit of a shorter video, and it's gonna be uploaded, like, right here at this time frame, at 6-something a.m. in the morning here in Vancouver, because what I wanted to do to open things up was give myself a big pat on the back. Good job, LEGO, for going out there and capitalizing on topics that didn't have a long lifespan, because yesterday we made this video. Sidney Crosby potentially going over to the Toronto Maple Leafs as suggested by Brian Hayes on TSN's hockey programming last week. We also made this video the day before. The alarming update on Sidney Crosby and his contract. Yeah, I know, clickbait titles aside. This talked about the somewhat of an ultimatum that was given out, and the comments made by Sidney Crosby's representation that kind of debated whether or not the Pittsburgh Penguins could be a proper fit for Sid the Kid long term, if you had yourselves the idea in mind that Crosby's main goal was to win another championship. Could he do that with Pittsburgh in 2025, 2026, 2027, 28? Who really knows? But with these two videos already on the chopping block, it makes this entire conversation that we're having today all the more vindicating, because both of these videos, which had been published 19 hours ago and 1 day ago, or 2 days ago, it should say, both of these videos are now wrong. Because we had ourselves this article published on The Athletic by Rob Rossi 3 hours ago at 3 a.m. my time. We're not going to read this article. It's behind the paywall. It's on The Athletic, so you know the protocol here. Sidney Crosby is nearing a new contract with the Pittsburgh Penguins, sources say. If you go on to Twitter, you'll see the tweet here from Rob Rossi. The Pittsburgh Penguins and the player are confident a deal will be agreed upon and formalized soon, the sources say. And then the first reply says, "Oh no, how else will Canadian media fill time in the summer when they can't talk about why Crosby needs to go elsewhere? Canada specifically. I have no idea what Steve is talking about. There's nobody out there in Canada that's making content on social media or on the regular media discussing how Sidney Crosby should leave the Penguins and go to Canada. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody. I don't know what they're going over here." But if you go over onto the Our Hockey subreddit, there is some thoughts here, some comments that go out there and summarize the post. The speculation here is that a deal of 3 years by $10 million is possible. Maybe 10.87, 10.878787, who really knows here? 20 years, $3 million to keep the AAV down. Okay, no, that's a joke. You can't sign a 20-year contract, but this comment goes out there and says, "Oh, what's that like? Actually working to re-sign your captain and star forward? Couldn't have been us here in Tampa Bay." Yeah, R.I.P. Steven Stamkos and his Tampa Bay Lightning career. "My dreams are ruined," this Colorado Avalanche fan goes out there and says, "It's okay, McKinnon can still be traded to the Penguins. With all due respect, screw your dreams. It would be just wrong seeing Crosby in any other jersey." Yeah, I would absolutely agree there. You also had yourselves the updates as to Friedman. He had speculated before the playoffs ended that the contract for Crosby could be $10 to $10.5 million for 3 years. "I have zero issues with this," Pittsburgh Penguins fan Other Things I Like says. "If we can't make the playoffs, pay him to stay around and mentor the Nublets. You don't have any Nublets worth mentoring, though." Now, there are a few other comments. I mean, RIP everyone's fantasies of snagging Sidney Crosby, particularly Avalanche fans. Is this his retirement contract? Who really knows? And then there are some other things here. It kind of sucks that signing this contract is essentially the end of Crosby competing for Stanley Cups, but it would be too weird to play him or see him play anywhere else. There also are a few discussions as to the length, but I wanted to go out there and talk about that dollar amount and that time frame in particular, because when it comes to Sid the Kid, I mean, we've been talking about this in all the other videos, but 36 years old, so it's not really like Sidney is all too young anymore. He's no longer Sid the Kid. He's pretty much riding off into the sunset here. He'll be 37 by the time the 24-25 season starts. And so if you do the math here, take a 3-year deal, add it on from 2025 up until 2020, what would that be? 25, 26, 26, 27, 27, 28, excuse me. Sidney Crosby's going to be literally 39 years old by the time his next contract expires. That's a pretty reasonable time frame, I would say. Like, obviously, for the point production and the caliber of player that he is, Sidney Crosby could probably play till whenever it is that he wants to leave, and he'll probably be fine. But because it's so rare to see top-tier NHL stars who are 90-point caliber players, 80-point and 60-game caliber players, point-per-game players, 30, 40-goal players, it's rare to see these guys at 36 years old, never mind aging into 37, 38, 39. The Pittsburgh Penguins are not trying to handcuff themselves too badly by giving a contract that does have the potential to age even the slightest bit poorly into the next few years here. If Sidney Crosby is good till 2028, but then in 2029 he starts to drop off, you don't want to be paying that guy $10 million a year. Of course, though, you can say that Sidney Crosby, in a way, defies every single rule that we have when it comes to giving contracts out to players. Oh, you don't want to pay a 39-year-old guy $10 million a year if he's only getting 50 points, but who cares if he's Sidney Crosby? Like, there's always a devil's advocate opposing point of view because Sidney Crosby is Sidney gosh darn Crosby. I mean, this speaks for itself here. 100 points in 2018-19, 104 2013-14, 109 2009-2010, 103 2008-2009, 120 06-07, 102 05-06. He has been one of the most decorated point scorers in NHL history, and he's got the longevity to go completely alongside of it. I mean, you talk about Alex Ovechkin and the recent season he had. His point production in 23-24 was pretty bad. And you can say that the goal scoring, it was starting to slow down, and now people are in a sort of worrying state as to whether or not Alex Ovechkin could actually beat the Gretzky record. He had 31 goals and 34 assists, yes, but that came in a year where the NHL really was a lot more productive compared to prior seasons, and Ovi himself had since declined a tad. I mean, 75 points to 65 points is not the biggest deal in the world, but it still is a very small amount of leeway before making up to the Gretzky record. So, Alex Ovechkin, he's aging a little bit poorly, you could say. Sidney Crosby is aging like fine wine, and if the reports are true here that he's going to sign a contract in the 3-year, $10-point-something million AAV range, then that's a pretty good sign. Pittsburgh Penguins fans, I don't know if anybody is going to be pissed off about this. Nobody is going to be upset that the team is retaining their captain. If anything, I think other teams' fan bases could be upset, like those Tampa Bay guys that we had seen. Oh yeah, amazing how the Penguins re-signed their superstar caliber captain forward that's been the heart and soul of their team, their identity on the ice for a decade plus. Crazy how you're able to do that. Not like we couldn't. So, of course, you know, I'm not a Tampa Bay fan, but I'm just kind of putting my shoes in the... No, not putting my shoes, putting myself in their shoes for the sake of this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, though, about Sidney Crosby and his contract that is going to be given out in the next few days here. 3 years long, 10-point-something, maybe under $10.5 million AAV. Maybe it's a 10.878787. Who really knows? Maybe there's going to be an 8.7 in there. If there isn't, though, it would be kind of funny just to take a look at the history breaking itself up after all these years of making $8.7 million a year. I mean, we're here on Puckpedia.com. Sidney Crosby out of his 2013-14 years. Okay, 8.7. 14-15, 8.7, 8.7, 8.7. It was 8.7 for years. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Sid the Kid and his overall contract. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.